In this video, I'm going to share with you some fluid nozzle tips that will help you with your airbrushing. Let's get into it right now. So whenever you're using your airbrush, if you find there's any issues with any of your lines, say for instance you're trying to get a nice defined line and you're finding that above or below it's blasting out to one side, or your airbrush is just not flowing properly, you've got intermittent spray. So this particular airbrush, as you can see, is running nice and smoothly, but if you do have any of those issues, then that will most likely be coming from the fluid nozzle in your airbrush. Now, whenever taking your airbrush apart, I do recommend you use the Iwata cleaning mat. This is just super handy and it will stop any of those little parts rolling away. And I'll pop links to everything in the description below. As you can see, mine is very well used. I'm not going to use it for this video because I just want it to be nice and easy for you to see what I'm doing. So the airbrush that I'm using in this video is the HP CS Iwata Eclipse. Now the fluid nozzle is located in this front section. So firstly you need to remove the air cap, and then the Eclipse has this extra section here which you can also carefully remove. Now everything's just finger tight. Not using any tools to over tighten anything, and now you can clearly see the fluid nozzle there with the needle sticking out. Now this airbrush has a 0.35mm needle nozzle setup, so great for all-round airbrushing. So the Eclipse also has a bit of a different nozzle setup, but I just want to show you the difference. So I'll just take off that head assembly, and before I do that I'll remove the needle. So just unscrew the handle, loosen that locking nut, and then pull the needle out carefully. Now this part is a bit tighter, so if you do want to remove it, I like using this tool from Iwata because it's safe to unscrew. And now that that's been loosened, I can show you the setup that the Eclipse has. You can see it's got that dual nozzle. So the larger one at the bottom, very similar looking to the Pash VL setup, but it has that smaller nozzle screwed onto the top of that. Whereas most other brushes, when you remove this section, this front section here, again be careful with the needle. You can see that that nozzle is just screwed right into the body of the airbrush. So I'm going to go ahead and just replace this now to show you how I just maintain the Eclipse. And for all nozzle maintenance, I like to use the Iwata nozzle wrench instead of using these horrible wrenches that come with your airbrush. It's a much easier chance that you're going to cross thread or damage the thread when you remove a nozzle using one of these, because it's very easy to over tighten and be more aggressive with the nozzle. The nozzle wrench you can just fit over the front and twist it until it locks in, and then you can easily unscrew your nozzle, and it also keeps it within the tool so that it's less likely that you're going to drop it and lose it. So you can see the nozzle has a bit of a sealant on there when you first buy them, that little bit of red that you can see on there. Now that's worn away on mine. So if you've gone ahead and put together your airbrush and you're pressing down for air and you notice that your airbrush is back bubbling, then this means that there's an issue with the nozzle, and there are a couple of things that it can be. So if the bubbling or back bubbling is occurring, the first thing I like to do is check that your nozzle isn't split. So again, you have to remove the needle, and then you can have a close look at your nozzle, even if you use one of those magnifying glasses that you can get, like a jeweler's magnifier, or a lot of the airbrush companies sell them. You can see in the Iwata cleaning kit, they have a magnifier that comes with it. Now, if you find that your nozzle is split or flared, then that can be the cause of the back bubbling, and replacing the nozzle would fix it. I know that this is the case in the Iwata Neos, the HPCNs. As soon as the nozzle flares or has a slight split, then you have to replace the nozzle. The other reason that causes back bubbling is that there's an air leak somewhere and that you haven't sealed the nozzle properly back into the housing. So again, first thing that you want to do is make sure that it is tight. So you can see mine was loose. I deliberately made it loose for the video so that it created back bubbling. But let's say that you've tightened it back up and it's still bubbling. What do I do now? Well, unscrew your nozzle. And remember I spoke to you about that red sealant on the nozzle. Well, that could be the cause. It's not sealing anymore. It's worn off. If that's the case, then you want to grab yourself some beeswax and just carefully rub a bit of that on the thread of the nozzle, and then screw that back into your brush. Make sure you don't cross thread it, and that will then provide a proper seal, and you'll have no more back bubbling. You can see now, no more back bubbling. It's got a proper seal on the nozzle, and you won't have any other issues. The airbrush is performing perfectly, and that's just a bit of water in there just to demonstrate. So to fast track your learning, you can definitely check out our online airbrushing course at airbrushisylum.thinkific.com, or you can continue to watch some of the other videos that are listed here. And until next time, go grab your airbrush, do some amazing artwork yourself, and I'll see you again very, very soon in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.